Do you believe that you are speaking to the real James Dickerson?
I believe that I did. So I knew what needed to be in place, the foundation that needed to be laid. So he had that consideration, he had that respect. And truly, about 3 weeks into the relationship, he told me, he said, I've looked for a woman like you all my life. He said, I really don't ever want to lose you. And he said, in a prayer, he said, Father God, would you please show Helen the kind of man that I can be? That it takes a she that will commit and a he that will be loyal. And I can be that for her. I invested, I think, $72,000.
What's up, Seekers? Welcome back to another episode of Scamfish presented by socialcatfish.com.
I was involved in that Syrian war, and I was involved with this man. And I do believe he was in Syria or anything.
Helen,
Syria.
Helen, you were not involved in the war in Syria.
On today's episode, we speak to a woman named Helen from Kentucky who finds herself entangled in what she believes to be an online romance with General James Dickerson. The two met on Facebook dating and slowly began to plan a life together. Things got out of control when James claimed the only way he could retire from the military is if Helen could secure a package containing his military documents. Helen has dished out over $70,000 trying to retrieve the parcel. She wants us to verify if she is truly speaking to the real General James Dickerson. Let's see if we can help her out. Real quick, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your comment and like could help stop someone from being scammed. Let's get into it.
I'm Helen Pointer, and I was born and raised in Appalachia, Kentucky. And I have a nursing degree, an associate degree, and I have a bachelor of psychology degree and a master's in health ed. How I looked at dating was an assessment. You know, you've got to have common variables that could bind you into a serious relationship. And I don't like to say this, but I think I was probably pretty intelligent. And I kind of threatened men. So, and I worked with physicians. So I just kind of accepted that's who I was. And I would travel by myself. I'd stay in Airbnbs. And I had a lot of autonomy as a single woman in America. And I used it very positively. And I would date, but mostly it was 6 to 8 weeks. And I've had a lot of male friends throughout the years, and that's been really rewarding for me, but it just wasn't relationship marriage material. So I did not get romantically involved, but I did have a lot of fun dating. I was fairly attractive. I'm getting older, but I did enjoy dating. Men were fun. They liked me, and I had a lot of fun.
Helen wasn't having the best luck dating in person, so she decided to try online dating. She was comfortable with going online because of her background with technology in the medical field.
These degrees that I got only prepared me to be an efficient nurse on those units and to work with the physicians and to learn to professionally be able to tell people what they needed to know, but to maintain high standards because our healthcare system demands excellence and high standards. And if there was something that clicked in my brain that was not right with a machine or was not right with a patient, I had the skill level to identify that. So I trusted technology.
Helen opened up a dating profile on Facebook Dating, and she was approached by several men. But one man caught her eye.
He just said, "Hi, I'm General James H. Dickerson. I just looked at your Facebook page and I'm interested in chatting with you." And I said, I'm certainly interested and open to get to know you. He asked me if I was single, and I said, yes, I'm single. I'm divorced. I asked him if he was divorced, and he said he was. And I said, well, we can certainly share some commonalities with that. He told me that he would be retiring in 6 weeks, that he was on a peacekeeping mission in Syria, and that he was over 200 troops, and that he would be returning to the United States, and he really was interested in getting to know me.
Helen and General James Dickerson hit it off right away. They would begin to chat every day, all through the night. James claimed he was in Syria, but had already started to plan his return to the United States.
Which he's a 4-star general, and in his khakis and in his, in the official military attire, his life that he'd lived for 34 years. He's 5'9", 5'10", kind of stocky built. And upon occasions, I had pictures of him with a beret, and then his army, his uniform, his fatigues. He seemed to like to send me those pictures. But his hair was brown, and I assumed his eyes were brown. I don't know that I could get that close into those pictures that he sent me. Personality-wise, he was charming. He was affirming. He was positive. He was loving. He was considerate. He was becoming my friend, and I trusted him.
After a few weeks, things got deep. James would confess his love for Helen and expressed how much he wanted them to spend the rest of their lives together.
I was looking for a companion. I said I would be interested in a companion to get to know someone, to see if we are what I term equally yoked, complementary to each other, that we could rebuild 2 lives, because he had been through a divorce. I had been through a divorce. I had a psychology degree. I've worked in psych. I have counseled through my professional experience. As a matter of fact, I have a psych certification as a nurse. So I knew what needed to be in place, the foundation that needed to be laid. So he had that consideration. He had that respect. And truly, about 3 weeks into the relationship, he told me, he said, I've looked for a woman like you all my life. He said, I really don't ever want to lose you. And he said, in a prayer, he said, Father God, he said, would you please show Helen the kind of man that I can be, that it takes a she that will commit and a he that will be loyal, and I can be that for her. That changed the whole relationship. He had the intellect. I very much valued what he had done for America. I thought, what an honor to be able to end my life like this, and this was my dream. Plus, I knew he was going to have a substantial retirement. And I confronted this to him. I said, James, you will have a substantial retirement. And I'm not going to be naive about that. And really, I would never consider, I'm sorry, I wasn't marrying for money, but I would not consider marrying again at that age with somebody that could not give me a lifestyle that I was used to. So we talked about that.
Helen had finally felt she found her soulmate. After a few months of chatting, the two even planned to get married. James announced his retirement from the military and was getting ready to come home.
I had made, and I was actually had taken it here locally to a stationery shop to have them transfer our choice of wording onto this embossed announcements for a wedding that to announce his retirement from the U.S. Army and 34 years of service and our engagement.
Just as he was on the verge of officially retiring, a series of unfortunate events unfolded in Syria. This is when things started to spiral out of control.
The situation that came in was ironic, him being in Syria. I had studied civics and I had studied world history, but I had never been personally into a world war. And throughout our relationship, if he told me of an incident that was affecting him and the troops, I would go to the Syrian news and the Department of Defense the next day and I would read about it. And on one occasion, there was a bus that was blown up with 8 children that were killed. And it was really bothering him. And he said, I want to get out of here so bad. He said, this cage of a country, it's terrible. And I went to the Department of Defense and the Syrian news, and I read about it, and there were 8 children that were killed.
Helen would start to read and study all of the horrible things that were going on in Syria. She read several articles, and everything James claimed to be dealing with was being reported by the news. James needed to get home ASAP, but he would need Helen's help.
He said, I want to share something with you that I've never shared with anybody. And he said, Helen, I really don't know who I could talk to about it. He said, I don't have any family support. And he said, I saved a Syrian official from ISIS. He had given him a portfolio. And he said, Helen, they don't trust the banks here. And he said, I didn't know what to do with this. And he said, I was in charge of a warehouse where my troops and we could use this warehouse. And he said, so I threw the portfolio in there. And he said, I really didn't even have time to think about it because we're out with combat. I had in that warehouse my military papers, my 34 years of military papers. And he said, I opened the portfolio and he said, Helen, it was full of money. And he said, I didn't know what to do with it. So I threw my military papers in there. And he said, I need to get this money out of Syria and I need to get my military papers so I can come home. And he said, the UN has assigned a diplomat to us to deliver this and to help us to get this out of Syria. He said, I'll probably get a Medal of Honor. Now, he's a 4-star general. That's how he presented himself to me.
Helen felt she needed to help James get back home, but she would need to make sure she secured this parcel that contained his military paperwork so he could completely retire.
So he introduced me to Graham Smith, who was our assigned UN diplomat. And he started texting me and he said, Madam, I do my job diligently, forthright, as into the general and the UN. And nice to meet you. And I will be working with you to get the general's portfolio and military papers to you. They're only designated to you. Only you can open with James's giving you the code. Only you can open it. He said, I'm just a delivery diplomat. I cannot open it. The first investment I made was $1,050. The next time, I think there was 2 $9,000 cashier's check that went. And I was to package them up and send them through the mail. My specific directions in context of the relationship was that it was to go to his secretaries, and that due to the war and that he did his diligently as unto the general and to the UN, and I had to follow his specific directions.
Helen followed this package leaving Syria. The courier service would even send her receipts when she paid for it to be moved. But as it traveled to the United States, she had already sent over $20,000 through cashier checks that were supposedly issued to James's secretaries. The delivery fees seemed to never come to an end, and Helen kept writing checks.
There were 5 states that this money went to. I was told to send it to the secretary per the UN and per his instructions, because he's a diplomat and he'd done this in 6 countries or in 7 countries. James said, honey, I'll pay you back. He said, money is no problem for me. He said, money is no problem. And that's what I could trust for whatever the relationship is, And he said, darling, once you get the military papers out, I'll come home and I'll clean up my mess. I invested, I think, $72,000.
Helen paid the final fees amounting to $72,000. But then something terrible happened. The package disappeared. This left James in shock.
his mental health really started deteriorating. And I'm thankful for my education, because as a psych nurse, I could pick up on this and I could tell my pastor this, And so we're just trying to morally and ethically do everything that we can do. I left in my Christian faith. I'm trying to help our country and the lost sheep that has no family, and be moral and ethical and honorable to my American Judeo-Christian values. I can do nothing for him. I can't do anything. I've followed this up. I've contacted the VA for him. He will not help himself. I have a psych degree, and I can do nothing for him, but I have not abandoned him as a human being. I've done everything I could do for him. I did everything I could, morally and ethically. I never abandoned him in Syria, but I can't fix this problem. I can't.
The next day, our team got together to come up with a game plan. We needed to show Helen that this was not the real General James. After a few days of Virginia and Bree running searches, we felt we had everything we needed to get Helen to come to terms. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. We appreciate you so much. It was now time to sit down with Helen and go over everything that we had found.
Hello, Helen. How's everything?
It's good. I'm waiting. I'm anticipating to learn more about my mystery.
Something that I would like to know is, what was your last conversation with James about?
He was in a helpless situation. He wanted money to get out of Syria. I wasn't going to give him any more money. That was going nowhere in his head. And I carry the rest of my life in that. I'm a people person. I'm a high-tech person. I understand technology. I don't value it as much as I'm getting older, and I'm not going to keep pushing, to stay into the technical aspect of this.
Do you believe that you are speaking to the real James Dickerson?
I believe that I did. Am I the same person today that I was 19 months ago? No, the circumstances have changed. If we were together, would I still be committed and loyal? Well, I think if you see anything in me, you see my loyalty. I mean, I did everything I could. For 4 months, we shared interpersonal relationship. This military man, as much as he loved me, he was going to do his obligation to the country.
What are some reasons that leave you to believe that this is truly James Dickerson that you've been communicating with?
His words are basically his prayers and the bonding. There was a strong, not only human bonding, there was a prayerful bonding. There was a deep, deep prayerful bonding. I invested in our love under the covenant of Christ, which he professed to me. The bonding of God. God healed me through that. I held accountability to that. I will be judged for on this side of eternity. I did the best I could with what God handed to me. And did I believe it was him? I did. I could not have fallen in love with just anybody. I've been single 30 years. My ex-husband was in Vietnam, and he was a sergeant. He was an E6 sergeant. So I knew the military. And when he come into my life and we decided together that we were really interested in looking at a commitment and a bonding and possibly marriage. And here's the ring. He sent me a ring. I don't know if I showed you that. I wore it for a while, and I could not. I said, well, you got those. I sent them to you yesterday if you read those. I said to him, I'm having trouble with the virtual aspect of this. I'm a woman. I need touch. I need kisses. I need you send me virtual flowers. I can't go on like this. It's just not me. I can't go on. He sent me shirts, fatigue shirts. He sent me the ring. He sent me a rose that was dead. What woman would not respond to a man like that?
So Helen, We have a bunch of information we want to go over to clear James Dickerson's name. Our goal today is to prove to you that he is not involved in this in any capacity.
I was involved in that Syria war, and I was involved with this man, and I do believe he was in Syria or
But
anything
Helen,
out Syria.
Helen, you were not involved in the war in Syria. You were not involved with James Dickerson.
We're going to roll into this and we're going to start with the U.S. Customs document, okay?
Okay.
So with the document itself, we found a bunch of inconsistencies. Here at the top left, you have the U.S. Customs and Border Protection symbol, and then on the right, you have the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement symbol. What we had found was that this was a blend of multiple documents put together. So what that means is someone took a document, photoshopped another layer of another document to make this look like a legitimate document. As you can see, there's multiple different types of font throughout the entire document. There's also dates marked on top of or underneath signatures. We also didn't see any information on how to pay the fees. It's missing breakdowns of charges and the form of payment. There's just several inconsistencies found from this document alone.
And I told him that. I showed it to him, and I told him that.
So you had sent over images of James's son. And so we had taken those images, we ran reverse image searches on each of the images, and what we had found was he is the son of William B. Garrett, who is a lieutenant in the military. He's not James's son.
And Helen, if this truly was James Dickerson, why would he send you a false document? And why would he send you a child that isn't his son?
It's not. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that.
We were able to find the actual ID used in this picture. It has been photoshopped and layered on top of someone's hand to make it look like they're holding it. You can even see the placement of the finger. It's because it's two images layered on top of each other. It's not original, valid image.
Okay.
So just so you know, it is illegal for anyone in the U.S. government to take a screenshot or a picture of their ID and send it off to anyone.
He said that. He told me that. He kept saying that. He said that time and time again. And by him being on a peacekeeping mission, that he couldn't do it.
Next, we want to talk about these cashier checks you sent to multiple people around the world for the parcel fees.
These were his secretaries. This was the UN diplomats' secretaries.
I reached out to Joan. I gave her a call. I let her know why I was calling her. Yeah, so I'm actually calling on behalf of a woman named Helen. It looks like Helen may have reached out to you in the past. She claimed that she didn't know who you were. She never received any checks. She never cashed any checks on behalf of Helen. And she even said that I was a scam and hung up on me.
So that's interesting. Well, would she admit it? I mean, I don't know. I truly, I don't know my America today with this. It has just so distorted.
I did call Beverly as well. She answered the phone. Yeah, is this Beverly? Hi, Beverly. This is Brianne with socialcatfish.com. She was very, very sweet, very polite. She said that she had never heard of who you are. She never received any checks from you, never cashed any checks. She seemed completely confused as to what was going on. Beverly did mention dating someone online, and he was in the military. But the man she's talking to online, his name is William, not James.
I mean, I don't understand how this could happen, because nobody in my realm of moral, personal life could do this. Nobody could do this. But then it's happening, and it was done. But no, not in my realm would people do this. I don't know where this came from. I mean, I can't imagine how a mind can think like this. I mean, I can respect creativity, but this is evil. This is hurting people. I mean, I've studied crime TV with this. I mean, really, I'm retired, and it's like, this is not positive in my life, but I need to learn about law and forensic and what's going on here because I'm a victim, and this is involved in money for me.
So Helen, we actually have more.
Another piece of information that you sent over to us was the shipping receipt.
Yeah, that was the first one of the $1,000 to get it out of Syria. Yeah.
Correct. So we reviewed this receipt, and what we had found was a few inconsistencies, and I'm just going to run through each of those. There was no tracking included on the document, so we weren't able to validate the tracking. We were also unable to verify World Courier as a shipping company. We found a similar shipping company with the same name, but completely different logo.
And Helen, are your wheels kind of turning on what's going on at this point?
Sure. I mean, it's deceit. I mean, it's fraud. It's extortion. It's deceit. I don't doubt that at all. I just don't understand how human beings can do that.
Brianne and the search team, they ran all of the emails and all of the phone numbers that you sent us, that you were communicating with James. When we ran those, they didn't have any digital footprint at all. What that means is that there's someone at home creating all of these fake people and fake profiles and pretending to be them and feeding you false stories to essentially get money out of you. And that's unfortunately what you're in right now, which is what we call a romance scam.
You know, I'm coming to my realization. I mean, my is becoming real, that scam. But I want to tell you, when the human heart and involved, this is very, very hard. And that's why I was good at a person in the clinical setting for that.
We actually have a new tool that we're going to give you access to. It's called the Unfrauded tool. And basically, you'll be able to take anything you see on the internet and drop it into a chat box. And our AI system will take that and calculate and give you an idea of where the red flags are. It'll also give you the history on what type of scam it is, if it is fraudulent. And, you know, you'll be able to use that moving forward, and hopefully it helps keep you safe in the future.
Good will come out of it. Look at the people. I'm getting to work with wonderful people. We're doing justice. Isn't that what we're called to do? I could bury this and hate James H. Dickerson, you know, this is really sad. On through this, but I would like to finish my book to try ways to bring positive out of the negatives of my life, and the God I prefer faithful. I mean, I will bring good out of this, and I really have time here on this side of it to work on this.
With all this information that we've been able to provide you with, how does this alter the ending of your book?
So I do have a skill and an ability. When I get this book published, I will, you know, travel and try to bring good and bring beauty out of my ashes. And that's what my life's been about.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Remember, all of our new videos go out every Wednesday. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, Seekers, we'll see you guys next time.